Melbourne's very well known internationally as a livable city, a knowledge city, a friendly city. We face a burgeoning population increase, and that brings with it a much higher demand for more services and greater use of the public realm that we manage.
The City of Melbourne is engaging its community through multiple ways as part of the 10-year financial plan. What's happening behind me is a workshop. We've got people here from community organisations, special interest groups like residents associations. We're out in the community in a mobile way with 8 pop-up events.
One of the easiest ways we engage people is through this bright yellow caravan. We've collected over 45 hours of feedback from people. The conversations which we're having are not one-word answers, they're really in-depth and thought-out responses.
Diversity is a strength of a good quality community engagement program. We also have a number of smaller discussion groups, our Indigenous elders and some of our senior citizens, for example. And for those people who really like to engage online, we are using our online engagement tool, Participate Melbourne. From all of the feedback that we receive, that forms a community report, and that report goes to the People's Panel.
Democracy is the lifeblood of a fair and transparent and prosperous civic society. And so we wanted to embrace this notion of participatory budgeting. A panel is a unique exercise for the City of Melbourne where we asked about 7,000 people whether they'd like to get involved. Several hundred came back saying yes, they'd be interested, and then they were randomly selected from that. Half from a residential background, half from a business background. And they are people who've agreed to invest maybe 50 hours of their time to give us unique advice on our first ever 10-year financial plan. We wanted to hear from the silent majority, from the ordinary busy people who wouldn't normally take the time to engage in a council process.
This project's iconic because firstly, it's a city of the status of Melbourne, and secondly, it's being done with a randomly selected group, with a jury. It's normally being done just with self-selected people that come to various town hall meetings, but this is a representative group, so it really is robust in terms of getting the community's view.
From a planning point of view, I expect this process will give us some clarity around direction and clarity of intent about whether the path that we've chosen to go on in addressing those challenges is the correct path.
An entire budget, a $400 million annual budget, was put on the table for citizens. And we had a very clear commitment from the Lord Mayor and the councillors that any information this jury of everyday people requested, they'd get.
The only way that we can really make those very important, big decisions is to bring the community with us.
My name's Jared Kelly.
I'm John Bailey.
My name's Pam Biancarci.
I'm Linda.
I'm the owner of 3 hospitality venues in the city square with my brother.
I work in the city and I live in the area of Darebin.
I work in the finance sector and I work in the city.
I'm a resident here in the City of Melbourne. I also go to uni here, and I rediscovered the city as a new mum this year too. The experience was overwhelming, at least for the first couple of sessions, where we were given a huge amount of information that we needed to digest and then somehow synthesise those various ideas together into some very basic elementary recommendations.
So the first session, particularly today, starts the deep dive of information, where we want to give you as much information as possible.
That community actually comes together in the City of Melbourne. It's a melting pot, if you like. The ratio of residents to workers is going to stay pretty much the same. Both are going to grow. There are 2 things that we have to do. We have to adapt to the fact that the climate has changed and is going to continue to change. The way Melburnians live is fundamentally changing. We were a suburban people for 100 years. Now there has been a complete turnaround with that embrace of inner city, urban, grungy lifestyles, apartmentia if you like.
There was definitely some very heated moments in the People's Panel, especially in the last 2 weekends when we had to get to a consensus and there was a lot of deliberation and a lot of voting.
What we're hoping is that by taking a jury of everyday citizens not up for re-election, citizens with no reason to take a public position, they can deliver a solution that becomes much more politically achievable.
Could you tease out capital works for me a little more? So I'm not quite sure what you mean by reducing it by 10%.
I think that this was one of the other main levers other than rates that we were looking at to try to find some funding.
Did the panel attempt at any stage to prioritise within that full gamut of what makes up capital works, what council's priority should be?
The sustainability and environmental, friendliness of the current spaces that you have is definitely a priority.
Besides focusing on the rates, did the panel think about other levers?
No, I think there was a lot of time actually spent discussing ideas that were raised about other revenue initiatives.
If there's one thing in there you want us to do, what is it?
What the panel recommended would be...
Good answer. Outstanding answer.
One of the best things that's come out of this is that the council's kind of got an indication of what the sentiment is in the community, because I think it was a very good cross-section.
Knowing that I'm helping to build something for better and for the future was something that was worthwhile.
I'm really happy that the whole program of community engagement that we have had at the City of Melbourne for many years now has been confirmed, that if you ask people to participate, if you create the opportunities for them to do it, if you inform them, they will be able to help us with the really big challenges that we have to address as a city. We've got to make those changes with the community on board. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to make those changes at all.
You have truly given us your own agenda, and that in itself is a remarkable accomplishment and an extremely useful document. Thank you.